Welcome to This Week in Loveland Tigers Athletics here on lovelandtigers.org and ESP Media powered by Sidearm Sports. I'm Jason Griefer. As always, we're joined by Loveland Athletic Director Brian Knatzer. Brian, good to talk to you one more time. Another really good week in Tiger Nation. I'm excited to talk about this week.
Jason, great to see you and talk to you this morning. Hello, Tiger Nation. Excited that we got another week, and I mean it's flying by. Believe it or not, I mean we're heading into the second half of the season, so we couldn't be more thrilled.
Absolutely. And the fact that we have a second half of the season to talk about makes it even more exciting. Exactly. Fist pumps all around there. Let's get right into it. And let's talk about the bowling teams first. And I want to start with the boys because they're sitting in third place in the ECC right now. And bowling very strong on the season right now. 10-2 overall, 9-2 in the league, coming off of a tough loss against West Claremont. And of course, West Claremont's undefeated on the year. Everybody knows how good they are on both the boys and the girls side. And we'll talk about the girls here in a moment. But your team has given them their two toughest matches of the season thus far. And I want to focus on this most recent one because West Claremont only gets you by 81 total pins. And I break this thing down further. You beat West Claremont by 60 in the Baker games, but the second round of individuals is where they came back to get you. And it doesn't help for your team, but West Claremont has 3 go over 200 and 1 go for 264. But nevertheless, a really good showing for your team against the dominant team in the league thus far. How did you see the way the boys bowled here?
I mean, even Monty Noel bowls a 433, right? I mean, does a great job. Obviously, team surrounding him, and they're all bowling, to really some of their best. But then you're right. You got an outlier who bowls a 522 from West Claremont. Hats off to him. I mean, Evan Williams, I believe is his name. Yeah. Outstanding job. So, I mean, hey, listen, that's what you get when you get the top two teams. Someone comes out on top, and some people just, and those thrive on those situations and that adversity. And they showed up, and our boys did too. They just got the edge on us a little bit, but a lot to say about our team. Obviously, if you're following on social media, our team was the Cincinnati.com team of the week for bowling. So really excited for them. Again, Jason, I think I talked about this last time, but what a fun and exciting group to go watch and to go rally behind. They're comical. I mean, they bring a skill set with them, and there's a lot of fun to watch. So really exciting. Obviously, mom and dad get into it as well. And can't leave out Joey Kapsakavich was the Cincinnati.com player of the week. So excited for not only him, but for the team as well. And good week, busy week. I mean, we have Walnut Hills, we have Winton Woods before that. And then on Sunday is our Cardinal Classic at Coleraine. So plenty of opportunity to continue to get better.
Can they take some positives out of this West Claremont match? And I know that the result didn't go the way, but seeing the results and knowing that it took Evan Williams of West Claremont going 258 and 264 to beat your team, can they take a positive and say, hey, it took someone going nuts for us not to come out on top there?
Yeah, I think they get it, right? And I'll tell you another positive is our JV team actually beat their JV team. Now that's great. I mean, I think that happened to us last year as well, but I think that's just a positive spin. It's what's coming up. Obviously, we're not going away. We're a strong program. We're going to finish strong, and we've got some people, on JV that are continuing on with this, with Coach Adams' legacy he's created here.
Over on the girls' side here, as we talked last week, it's obviously been a different story compared to last year's league title. But of course, like I said, West Claremont's been unbeaten on the girls' side. Lebanon comes into the league; they're undefeated over on the girls' side. But a similar story to the boys here. You've got a real good opportunity here to pick up a couple of wins and continue to build with Winton and Walnut here. How do you see them turning forward into this week?
Well, I think, with Ashley Gilker leading the way, I mean, she's got a 175 average. I'm sure that's only going to start to improve. Our team's got a very strong average as a team, 693. Again, we're in the top half of the ECC as well. I think 6 and 5 in the ECC, maybe 6 and 6 overall. So our team's strong. You're right. There's an opportunity we can get a little stronger this week. get a couple more wins in that column. And I think that, really will set the tone moving forward in the second half. So again, fun team, strong team. It's a small team, very tight,
Yeah.
niche team, but I think they work well together, and they'll get the best out of each other. So looking forward to that.
What have the coaches said to that point? The fact that you have a small team, and the fact that they maybe embrace that and have come together even more as the years gone along.
Yeah, I think coach does a good job at just letting them know that this is all we got. There's nobody behind us, so we got to stay pretty strong. We've got to, I think, create a little bit of enthusiasm so that we can get some interest in filling some girls teams up in the future too. So they got a little bit on their shoulder, not just to go out and continue to be a strong ECC team, but also to make sure that there's teams behind them as well. So know what they're up against.
There you go. So let's move on here and let's jump into the pool, because it's a pretty big weekend coming up as well in the league. The ECC championships coming up this weekend for swim there. How going into this, and we talked a little bit last week where they are and how they've been and whatnot. How close to top form do they feel they are going into these ECC championships in a very, very tough league from top to bottom?
Well, I think they had kind of a week off for preparation, getting ready for this ECC, and if we name drop the kids, the student athletes that have really shined, your Evan Lucas, Colin Blackburn, Sarah Lally. I think they're all going. They do well under that pressure. They're ready for this. They've had plenty of time to prepare. And to I don't think they're in their tapering yet, but I'm sure that looks a lot different with these postseasons having such different gaps in between what they're used to. So that'll create challenges for them. But I think they've competed enough. They know what they have to continue to improve on, and they're fresh and they're ready, and we're ready to go. So excited for them.
Let's talk about your academic team here. The split with Kings to stay at 500 on a year. They're 3-3 overall, sitting in 5th in the ECC. And you look at this a little further, and a lot of times, as I've been looking through the results across all leagues around the area, when it's whoever wins usually is winning by a lot of points. There's usually a wide margin. Your first 2 wins over Milford came by 34 points in each game in the 2-game match there. Your 3 losses, though, two to Little Miami, who's always a strong academic program, and then the first loss to Kings, all of them within 15 points. And I think that's something to be said for the fact that your team is in every match, and it just maybe a buzz here, a buzz there, and you're that close to being 6-0 in the league right now. Do the student athletes there on the academic quiz team kind of feel that as well, that they're right there from that far away from being undefeated right now?
Yeah, they know that. They're aware of that. We got a new coaching staff. We got some nice size on the team, some younger people, and they're aware of that, and they're getting into a groove. We're excited to host West Claremont this week, tomorrow, and we're to your point, yeah, they're right there. They just need to push their thumb down, hit that buzzer, and they'll continue to have success. I think this is a good week for them, and heading into next week, which will be our senior week as well. So, but yeah, they get it. They know it. They're having fun. They're getting into the groove. And it's been an interesting year, right? We didn't know if we were going to have academic team, and all of a sudden it came last minute. There's kind of been all new moderators. We've got a new moderator ourselves who's doing a fantastic job. So I think everyone's getting their groove on, and I think we'll be just fine.
Something you touched on just there that I want to kind of expound on, and a lot of folks don't necessarily think about with the academic team. A lot of folks, I'm sure, would imagine that it's just a lot of studying, a lot of heads down the books, a lot of trying to cram as much information as you can for not only this, future appearances on Jeopardy, who knows. But I want to get your perspective from what you've seen, not only with your own 2 eyes, but in talking around the program. How much fun do these kids have when they sit in those chairs and they're ready to go lined up against the opposition?
Oh, they're into it. just, and this a lot of what a lot of people don't see, which is you mentioned, just the setup for we do our competition in the media center. Unfortunately, there can't be parents because of the way the room's set up and the size of the room. But I mean, everybody's working, everybody's setting it up, everything's 6 feet away, everyone's, putting all the wipes around the buzzers, we're wiping everything down. They're just into it. They're into the whole sport. That's part of it. The setup, the practice, the game like competition for practice days, and then just getting up on the table and making it their own. They're into it. If we're able to come to those matches, you would see that they love it. It's always exciting. It's trivia.
And especially when you know a lot, as
Oh,
your kids have shown that they do, which is a far cry from what a lot of other people could claim in an event like that. But good start
smart than
nonetheless
me,
for the
I know
season for
that.
them.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, no doubt. Let's move on and let's hit the wrestling mat. And
Yeah.
I'm gonna kind of be a little vague here as far as leading you into this topic,
Sure.
because your team hosted a pretty big tournament over the weekend. I just want you to kind of talk to Tiger Nation about it. Take us a little inside, how the operations went, the importance of this tournament, and then ultimately how your team performed.
Yeah, so we hosted the 32nd Tom Mahalik Loveland Duels is what we call it. And the way the operations of this, you're right. It's, we looked at 6 schools. We have 3 mats. Each school, because of our COVID protocols, they are sitting in their own little section inside the gymnasium. And we did have our parents up top in our mezzanine, 2 per roster kid. So, we have to be very cautious about all those protocols. But it's a pool, so it's not bracketed. So every team's going to wrestle every team there, and then there's going to be a winner on top based on record. And the Tigers went 5-0, so really excited. I mean, Jason, I'll tell you, it came down to we were Division Two's #1 team in the city, which is Ross. It came down to the very last matches to find out who was going to win that. Both of us were 4-0 heading into that. We came out on top, and it was it's a great feeling to know that that we won that. That's a big tournament for us. That name Mahalik is big here in Loveland, and we'd like to defend that Loveland Duels. So that's kind of how operationally it looked. I'm gonna throw out some names because these kids they deserve it.
Sure.
We got our Brett Hogan, who's now 12-4. I mean, we've got double-digit wrestlers. Think about that, as where we are right now, where we thought we were going to be at the very beginning of the season. You can't even handshake, but our kids are, in double digits now. Ty Harder, 11-5. We've got Alex Harrison, 11-4. Jake Case, 11-5 with 8 pins. Gavin Folsengraf, 12-4 with 9 pins. Jared Mendoza, 14-2 with 10 pins. Tristan Greatorex, 12-4 with 7 pins. 285, Sawyer Bowen, 12-4 with 5 pins. So these kids are getting the experience. They're having a season. It might not look like the invitationals that we've had in the years past, but we're able to put on a safe duels meet for them, and we're trying to support them as much as possible. We're going to do it again with our JVs this weekend as well. So we're looking forward to it. Wrestlers are doing a great job, and they're having the successful season they trained for.
When you host an event like this team, obviously you always want to defend home turf, and you bring all these quality programs in. As you said, Ross, the #1 team in Division Two in the area, and you're able to beat them at this point in the year with all those great wrestlers that you just went through and told us some of the breakdown with how they performed. How big of a launching pad can that be for them the rest of the season to know that they took on a team like Ross and several others in one place and beat them all?
Yeah, I think it's we've been doing this now. We've gotten beaten, and we've beaten other teams, but we've went up against Lakota East, who I think was ranked 6th in the city. We went up against Lebanon, who beat us, but it was a great matchup. Comes down a couple times to Lakota East, comes down to the final couple matches. We got it handed to us by Lebanon, and then we're able to do what we can do to teams as well. So I think we're in the top 10 in the city in Division One, and I think wrestling that type of athlete, or those types of teams is what's going to propel you, because we're going to have a postseason. The ECCs, aren't far away, and the postseason just right after that. So if you want to be the best, you have to wrestle the best, and certainly that's what Coach Schweitzer is doing. He's presenting those types of teams to our athletes and putting us in those types of situations, and our guys are responding, and more importantly, they'll be able to respond once the postseason gets here.
Let's talk about your basketball teams now. Let's start with the boys, and they have had some really tough luck as of late here. And this schedule, the last 5 games they've played, has been just brutal for them to try to go up against. You've had Mason, Turpin, Lebanon, Aiken, and then Anderson to finish off these last 5 games here, and your teams dropped all 5 of those. But I want to focus on the last 4 in particular, and the reason why I say it is because we're looking at a 6-point loss to Turpin, that overtime thriller against Lebanon, you come up short by 2. Aiken, you lose by 1. Anderson spreads out a little bit, but they get you by 11 in that game. So these 4 games, your team has lost by a combined 20 points. So they're right there with some of these really, really good teams, not only in the ECC, but from around Cincinnati with Aiken and Mason as well. How has the attitude been around the team in this stretch where they seemingly have had night after night the opportunity to win, but in the end, the bounce just doesn't go their way?
Yeah, I mean the scoreboard, right? It says it at the end, but I mean in the locker room, these guys realize it. The athletes realize it. The coaches realize it. They are knocking on the door of some of the best teams in the city. To your point, and these guys, they're a fun group. They're they've had their ups and their downs. Obviously, they're with kids that can't come to practice, and then they come in, so they're always working with different athletes, different strengths, different weaknesses. They're working through their adversity. The instruction time has gone down a little bit because maybe some of them weren't here, but I think your traditional names, your Sam Cox, your Aaron Kraybacher, those guys are doing fine. And I think I'll give a shout out to DeMarco Johnson, who's a junior. He's coming off the bench. I mean, he's stepping up in these times as well. So at the very least, we're pretty bench deep. Anyone could come off, play, be a part of the team, and know that heading into the second half of the season, after being, kind of goes back to our wrestling conversation, after being exposed to the best, I mean, well, okay, now you know what it takes. These guys aren't giving up. They show up every day. They do everything that's asked of them. They work hard. They're a great group together. And, the whole goal is to turn that corner. And it doesn't slow down, Jason. We have 3 home games this week. We've got Kings tonight, Tuesday, and then on Friday, we've got West Claremont. And then on Saturday, out of conference, we're hosting Sycamore. So plenty of opportunity for guys to come in and continue to get better.
Over on the girls' side, we talked a lot about their successes last week and everything surrounding the program with Coach Parker and everything he's going to. Let's stick on the floor this week here. Still atop the league, 12-2 overall, but dropped the first conference game of the year. I think caught some people by surprise here, falling to Walnut Hills, 47-40 in a game where your team shoots just 36% from the floor and only knocks down 1-3 there. I'm sure, like I said, I'm sure it took some people by surprise, but it's also seemed like a night where shots just didn't fall, and that happens sometimes. Is there any concern there from Coach Parker, or are they looking at just more at this game here against Walnut as just one of those off nights?
I think it's a learning lesson, right? It's an opportunity. You get behind early, it's hard to get back up. I mean, they brought it back all the way to 4, but you're right, they couldn't make their free throws, and you're not making free throws, and you're not making points. So and then Walnut had their best player came. She wasn't in the lineup the first time. This time she was. I think she knocked down 19 points. I mean, that's the difference maker. So so you're right. We had our opportunities, and then we just didn't produce on that. But the good thing is we are at Milford. We had to reschedule a game for Winton Woods that was scheduled for this week. That's going to be at the end of the season on February 6th. But we're looking forward to going to Milford, playing at Milford on the 23rd on Saturday. So the girls will rebound. They're tough. They're a tough team. They're a good team. They're a resilient team. They're gonna respond to that.
Lastly, before I let you go here, there's another interesting tidbit that we saw come out of Loveland Tigers athletics since we last convened. Some schools out there are starting to get indoor track programs going, but one of the things I want to that caught me by surprise, and I'll get your take on this here. It's the middle of January. It's cold outside. Am I right?
It's snowing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing on social media that the Loveland Tiger outdoor track team started this season in the Mason Winter Distance Carnival. First of all, who's deciding that they want to what's going on with the team? They decide they want to run in 20-degree weather when it's snowing out like this. And number two, what kind of what kind of guts does that take for them to want to do this 2 months before their season is supposed to start?
Oh, our kids are so hungry. All they want to do is compete. Coach Nestor, Coach Loveland, you know, yeah, they're the ones that they have all their track, coaches, their friends, their colleagues. All they want to do is get out and compete. So we had an opportunity at Mason. They kind of put the carnival together. I mean, you saw it. It's snowing, and they're out
Yeah.
there running in their, in their jerseys. It's unbelievable, and they're having fun doing it, and they're running hard. They're doing relays. It was outstanding. And I think it really says a lot for all these coaches in this area about what type of product they like to put out in Southwest Ohio. And it's really all for the kids of just getting out there, give them an opportunity to compete. You got to, they weren't around in the spring. It all got cut. So these guys are just wanting to get out and compete. And I think that was a way to say, hey, here's what's to come. So, we went out, had a great time, had a lot of relay races, and just, obviously if you saw it on Twitter, it's, interviewing kids and everyone just having a great time, just glad to be out there. So I'm happy for them. I can't wait for their season to get here, but yeah, you're right. So thanks to Mason and everyone that hosted that for us.
Would you have gone out there and run?
No, at a treadmill.
I'm with you. That's too much there. But nevertheless, it takes a special kind of toughness to be willing to do that, and especially coming off of a track season last spring that was that it couldn't be had. So good to see them taking some extraordinary steps to get back to competition, and that goes for all your sports, even the ones that are currently in the middle of their seasons, everything they've had to go through, and right now doing a really good job of getting through the season. As you said, we're into the second half of the season thus far, so credit to all of them. And to you as well, Brian. It's been a lot of fun to watch the development of that as we've gone through this winter sports season.
Jason, I got to give a couple props. I wasn't able to do that to our divers who went out to Milford on Friday. They dove 3 days in a row. So it was Milford on Friday. Then we had the Coaches Classic at West Claremont. So that was Saturday and Sunday. So, and then the ECC is coming up. So Sydney Keel, this is for at Milford, placed fourth at Milford, and then 12th in the Coaches Classic. We've got Morgan Eversole, who placed sixth at Milford, and then she ended up 20th in the Coaches Classic. Callie Egan, 7th at Milford and 16th in the Coaches Classic. And Sarah Mueller, who placed 8th at Milford. So we've got really 4 good divers that are giving it all in these crazy times. So I got to give them a shout out. 3 days in a row of competition, and they are ready for the ECCs this week.
And we will certainly be looking forward to talking about that next week when we reconvene once again. Hopefully a couple of league titles to talk about as well. I don't think you would argue with that, would you?
Nope. Bring it.
That's exactly what I thought there. Brian, appreciate the time. We'll look forward to it a week from now, hopefully with those titles behind you.
Yeah. Hey, Jason, it was great talking to you. Thanks for having me in Tiger Nation. We'll see you soon.
Absolutely. That is Athletic Director Brian Knatzer at Loveland High School joining us for this week in Loveland Tigers Athletics here on lovelandtigers.org and ESP Media, powered by Sidearm Sports.